Morning. Isn't that field a thing of beauty? Keep in mind that when we initially bought this property, all these fields that you see up here were basically 3-foot clumping fescue and scrub trees. So to have fields up here, we actually had to come in and brutally till this place. We had to cut down all the trees and we had to do a hard till turnover. Ever since that point, this ground has never seen the sunlight. It's always been covered. It's always been green. Even during last year's drought period, we were pumping 500 feet pond water up to these fields with our irrigation sprinklers and keeping these things wet. The deer were just packed in here because it was the only green source around. But today I'm going to talk about some myths. And what is the myth that I'm talking about? Misconstrued? Is that a good word? You ever play the game Operator, where one person tells someone something and it goes to the next person, and by the time it comes back around, it's sort of completely twisted up? That's kind of what I'm talking about today. So I'm going to talk about no-till and regenerative. So hold on. Okay, Doc, so what's the information that gets all messed up? What gets all misconstrued, as we'll call it? What ends up happening is people fall into this camp that you never till soil. You never touch your soil. It's a no-till operation. You are killing your biology. You are killing your microbes. You're killing your mycorrhizal fungi. You're doing all these bad things every time you put anything into the ground. It's just not necessarily true. And how do I know that? Well, first of all, if your soil is crap and you don't have any mycorrhizal fungi, you don't have any microbes, you don't have roots in the ground, you basically have this hard rock clay soil, and you want to have a vegetable garden right away, the only way that's going to produce is by putting artificial NPK into it. But what were to happen if you were to follow the no-till guidelines and regenerative guidelines by adding carbon, by adding organic matter, by putting roots in the ground, by having armor in the ground, and you do that immediately and you could see results in less than 30 days. That's what we're talking about today. So there is a time, especially with new gardens, that you can go in there and you can actually till up the areas that you're going to till. You can put a bunch of positive things in there, and I always say it's a net positive, and that's what you want. If you just till up a whole garden and you turn it into dirt, that's not what you want to do. You got it? There's something out there called strip tilling, and it's sort of a hybrid in between no-till and tilling. And they have these specialized machines now that actually go out and they till up a small space, not too deep, and it actually injects the seed and a little bit of NPK and opens up the ground, but then the space next to it is untouched. So it's kind of a hybrid between no-till and till. One of the reasons why that's becoming so popular is because there have been lots of studies, and you can Google it and find out for yourself. There's lots of research out there from universities talking about one of the key words with no-till is patience, because of the time span. It can easily take 3 to 10 years for a no-till regenerative operation to start to see true benefits. Look, we're all after the same thing. We're all after soil health. But if you're going out to put in a vegetable garden, you have to do things differently than a whole farm operation that's switching over to no-till or regenerative, especially if you want to have a garden right away. You don't have the time to go through this whole process. So I'm going to show you the finished garden right now, but before I do that, I want you to look at these fields. These fields will never be dirt again. This is what they will always look like. They are absolutely, completely lush. We call this our deer field. We're going to call that our squash field. And then the upper field, we just worked and we turned that into a little cornfield. But look at the diversity in these fields. This is heavy white clover. There's rye. There's brassica that's been planted, and there's buckwheat that's been planted in here. Now this is what these fields will look like 365 days a year, lush and green. And we actually come out and we cut these about every 2 weeks or so, and we keep them down so we have new growth, new regenerative growth. But this is just amazing. This soil health over the next couple of years will do nothing but explode. So let me show you the finished vegetable garden, and then I'm actually going to show you how we did this. Okay, so there's the house down there. Here's our barn, and then this is the new 7,000 square foot fenced vegetable garden. And this is what I'm talking about. When we talk about strip tilling, this is kind of what I would like to see in a garden. So we have one row that we've tilled up and we've just loaded it with tons of great stuff from Dirt Booster. And we're going to leave that alone. In between, you can see 6 feet, and we're going to have rye, clover, brassica, a whole growing biology that's going to stay living all the time. If we need to come in here and trim this down a little bit, we will, but we want to see a total diverse environment inside of here. And this is just going to be fantastic. And it worked out great. We came out early, we did all this work, and then about 2 hours after we did this work, it started to rain. It's been raining for like 14 hours straight. I just thought of this note driving back here from the other house, is that all the ponds in our area are brown from runoff. Guess what? Our pond is crystal clear blue. I put some blue dye in it, but it's crystal clear. It's because we don't have any soil runoff. All of our fields are green. We don't lose any soil anymore. When we first bought this property, that pond would turn brown every time it rained. Never, it has not turned brown again. So let me talk to you about this real quick. Okay, so first I want to talk to you about Dirt Booster. Dirt Booster is a product that I came up with the Andersons, and we have developed over the past few years through different stages of the product. And it used to be a two-part product. It used to be the carbon and organic matter, and then the mycorrhizal and microbes are in a separate packet. Now, there's only one product that's sold. It's the latest generation. It's called Dirt Booster Plus. Everything is all in one. So you have organic matter. You have these really fine flaky corn, dry corn distillates. You have molasses particles. You have carbon in the form of biochar and humic acid. You have mycorrhizal fungi spores, and you have good microbes, good bacterial spores all inside of it. When you put that inside of dirt, within probably about 7 days, it starts to come alive. So that's where the product is. Now, this has gone through a bunch of testing, including on PGA golf courses. The #1 superintendent in the United States, John Zimmer. Say that name to anyone in the golf industry and they'll know who he is. He did testing on some PGA courses. We have a farmer that's doing testing on, what is he doing? He's running 10 acres of corn with it. And we have done our own gardens with it, and we have eliminated fertilizers. We don't use any fertilizer anymore. Stop using fertilizers. You don't need to use them. So the whole premise here is yes, we had real hard, I mean, it was like a screwdriver hard red clay. And within about 8 months, we've managed to darken that soil down probably to about 4 to 6 inches. So we have started that process, but we need more than that in our first year of a vegetable garden here. So we came out here with a rototiller, we tilled up these, and we're leaving plenty of space in between, and we want all kinds of growth in here. We're going to plant wildflowers all around the edge, attract bees in. We'll have clover in here, which is nitrogen fixing. We have rye, we'll have brassica, we'll have turnips in between. This whole place will be alive, and that's exactly what you want. So from now on, each year as we go, we really won't have to till this. All we'll have to do is top apply. Maybe we'll apply compost, and we'll top apply Dirt Booster, and we'll top apply maybe some manure or something on top after the season's over. But we always want to have roots in the ground. So we tilled it twice, put Dirt Booster on it, mixed in the Dirt Booster, tilled it again, came back and put clover seed on top of that, and then we put wheat straw on top of that. So probably in about a week, we'll actually start planting here. I'll answer some questions. And some of the questions come up, a lot of people, it's funny because David, who does my tilling, who does my bush hogging up here, he's old school. In his garden, he's got to have it all dirt. And folks, that's what you don't want to do. The last thing you want to have is you never want to have any dirt exposed in your garden. You want to have just beautiful green lush everywhere. That's what you want. Do not just have a plain dirt garden. That's the biggest mistake. And I think that's where this information gets twisted around. Yeah, you don't want to go till up this whole place. You don't want to turn this all into dirt. That's not what you want. What you want is you want this living, healthy environment. You're going to get mycorrhizal fungi. And let me explain why I keep saying that term. Here's your plant's roots right here. Here's some nutrients over here. The roots can't get these nutrients. Well, mycorrhizal fungi spores, your roots send out a signal. That mycorrhizal fungi attaches to your roots. And what it does is it expands out and expands your root zone 2, 3, up to 10 times. that mycorrhizal fungi brings in nutrients and water to your plant, and in return your plant gives it basically sugars and starches in return. So it's that symbiotic relationship that exists everywhere in the world. But if you want to get rid of using fertilizers, if you want to go more natural, you put dirt booster in, it's loaded with that, the spores are in the ground, and once your plants start to grow, you're going to see this network of roots. It's absolutely amazing. The first pass is not that bad because I'm just sort of making my line. The second pass is a bitch. Oh my gosh. I'm having to basically go up and down because I'm starting to hit, you know, I got 3 or 4 inches of this new soil that we've developed, and then I'm starting to hit that hard packed clay soil that's down below. Whew. Then I'm putting my dirt booster on, and then I'm doing a light till on the way back. So. On this last pass, you'll notice that I'm walking off to the side. The first 2 passes I really don't care, but on this last pass I'm walking off to the side, and you can see that it's really nice, light and fluffy down here. This is just wonderful stuff right here. And I'm actually seeing some pretty decent earthworm activity, which is good. But man, this soil, I don't think we'll till it next year. All we'll do is we'll just keep building on top of these rows, But if you want to establish a garden quickly the first year, this is what you got to do. You got to take dead soil and put something in there to create a living soil, the net positive. So next year we'll come out here and we'll just lightly sprinkle some probably chicken manure on here, and some dirt booster and some crap, just whatever we have, any compost we have. We'll just put it on these rows and keep building these rows up and building these rows up. We won't have to till it ever again. Man, I'm glad that's done. So we've got the whole garden done. You can see it over here. It's a big garden. Now I have Ryan walking by on the other side. You can see him. He's picking up the flags, and that'll give you sort of the depth. What would you say this is, Ryan? 25 yards, 30 yards? 25, 30 yards across, and we've got 11 rows?
11.
And we got 11 rows. So that's a lot of produce. Oh man, I'm getting exhausted. I was at the other house, I put down fertilizer, I cut the putting green, went by Lowe's, I picked up tomatoes, I picked up peppers, I had to work on the pond, I had to work on the deer stuff. I'm exhausted, man. And I still got to go back and real mow that yard over here. So today, I'm going to show you what I planted, but I'm going to come out here and I'm going to plant some more brassica and a little bit of buckwheat in here, and then I'm going to cut this down pretty low. So I got to do that today. But I came out here. Now we did these rows 3 days ago, I think it was. And we had a torrential, it rained for about 6 hours yesterday. And then for about 20 minutes, it was the hardest rain I've ever seen in my life. I mean, I could not see. It was crazy. And these fields actually did really well. A little bit of wet, soggy down there, but I'll show you that I do have my tomatoes planted in here. So you'll notice, and I also have my pepper plants planted as well too. So I have all my peppers in here. One thing I like to do is I like to plant tomatoes and peppers and live plants, and then a lot of the other stuff we plant in seed. But these will come up real quick. This row right here will produce like 100 pounds of tomatoes. It's amazing what it'll do. But we're planting north to south, and I always like these tomatoes to get really tall. So I always like to have my tall plants on the southern side, because I want my shorter plants to get that morning sun, that morning and then early afternoon sun. But when it gets really hot in the summertime, that late afternoon, these things will actually offer a little bit of shade to the lower plants. Make sense? All right, so that's all done. So now I gotta go do farm crap. I gotta go put out some seed and cut that damn thing. Hey, so if you're interested, let me just show you what I'm doing. Because I'm pulling my a Pro 44 tape cutter, and I am cutting these fields. So we have been cutting them 4 inches and 7, 4 and 7. I'm taking them all down to 4. I just planted buckwheat and brassica, buckwheat, brassica, plus there's a bunch of clover in here. But I figure we had so much rain, I figured I'd go ahead and just take it all down to 4. But look at this stuff. Is this incredible or what? Now that's amazing right there. Talk about biodiversity. Look at that. That's just crazy. So we're leaving all this armor on the ground. We got new seed, tons of rain, and that's what I'm doing. So if there's one point I want you to take away from this video, it's pretty simple. You can't kill something that's not there. So if someone says, never till your soil, well, if it's completely dead, you got crappy soil, there's no life, there's no roots in the ground, you just got this hard clay, and you want to have a garden right away that produces, you want to start on the path to regenerative or natural or organic, it's fine to go ahead and do a till. Just understand, I really want you guys to focus. If you're going to do that, focus on strip tilling, where you do that till, you just punch a whole bunch of positive stuff inside of it, and then next to it, keep it living. Remember, we're not touching the soil in between these rows. We want those roots. We want that living soil. Once you've established your garden, now you can switch over, and now you can go to that top apply, top apply, top apply, and build and build and build. Throw in your biochar, throw in your carbon, throw in your organic matter, and over the years, you'll never have to use fertilizer again. Anyways, I think I've done enough for the past couple days, even though I still got to come out and real mow this backyard. Anyways, talk to you later. Doc.